So thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us. We had a wonderful presentation last week with the parents on some of the same things you're going to be going over, but with teachers, it's a little bit of a different way we go about it, but still very similar. And so thank you so much. I'm going to share your screen.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for sitting with us and being here for this training. In thinking about this and talking with Susan about, what do we want to cover during this short period of time? We just have an hour. I wanted to focus on strategic communications, and I want you to be able to take something away from this today that will help you in your work with whether it's infants, toddlers, 2-year-olds, or preschoolers, because there are just good techniques and strategies and points of view that I think are helpful for whatever age group, and honestly, probably human, adults too. My degree is in human development, so I always have a very broad point of view in terms of like, how do we communicate with each other? How do we make sense? And how do we really take a look at who our audience is and who we're talking to so that we can be successful with whatever our message wants to be and whatever we are trying to accomplish. So, and I've been a teacher, and I know, as a teacher, there are lots and lots of things that you have to communicate to children and transmit to them and ask them to, comply with you and give directions. And, you move through your day on a schedule. So it's not like everything is just happens, like magic. You are really managing the group that you have. To start with, one of the main points I just want to make is that I'm very appreciative of how hard it is to work in a mixed age classroom, whether it's infants with young toddlers or young toddlers with 2-year-olds, or 3s and 4s. It's not like you just have one age group and that's all you need to know about, be an expert in. You have to be an expert in a wider range. And so it's tricky because, right, you need to alter your requests or your directions to match the age of the child. And yet you have a finite amount of time, and it's sort of tempting to just speak to them as a group because they are your group. And yet we often need to then go back and adjust what it is we're asking for, directions we're giving to individual children or some smaller subgroups of children. That's something that is really targeted to their age, and it's, phrasing things in a certain way for them. Besides physical age, of course, we're dealing with children who have differing temperaments. And I think I've talked to some of you about this before. I've been doing a lot of work with twin parks for many years on different topics, but whoever I'm working with, whether it's teaching staff or parents, I always do draw their attention to this child's temperament. Some children, and temperament is not really personality. Personality is a makeup of your temperament, your, skill set, your physical condition. It's all kinds of things. Temperament is inborn, and it's that nurture versus nature situation that has been studied for decades. And we now know that there are really 9 characteristics that each of us are born with on a different sort of continuum. So we also know that about 15% of the population have a constellation of characteristics, temperament characteristics, that make them a little trickier to work with. It's harder for them to meld into what's going on. It's harder that for them to just adapt without stress. It's harder for them to like manage in a group because there's so many dynamics in a group. And yet then there are some kids that are very easygoing. And most research shows most children fall into this moderate, easygoing, easy to raise category. And then there are some that fall into this category of slow to warm up, very cautious, reticent. But the difficult traits are the things. Let me just talk through them a little bit for a minute. They're on your screen here. For example, some children are very intense, very intense. And the reason I say this is because I just want to put out here that oftentimes the children that kind of bubble up with issues that are like, again, and again, why isn't this child getting the, memo? It's could be because they have some of these characteristics and they need a certain kind of coaching. So that's where I come in. I work with schools and directors and parents on like, all right, let's focus in here and like become as expert as we can in coaching this child, getting the message across. Some kids are intense. They just express themselves in this really, strong, like charismatic way. And others feel the same amount of feeling, but they express it in a just very kind of quiet, shy way. Not even shy as I don't mean that as a bad thing. I just mean a subtle way. Some children have a high activity level. Some are moderate, some are happy to be more sedate and sit for long periods of time. The ones that are active, you find yourself wanting to like find things for them to do, to get up and down, to help you with something. Here, can you wash the table for me? Here, can you go get that box of Kleenex and bring it over? You end up finding things for them to do in a large motor kind of way. Some are more non-adaptable, meaning they do not like change, not a fan. And so they notice, if something is wrong in the routine, my favorite teacher is not here, or there are all kinds of things that bug a child who has a high degree of non-adaptability. Some are very cautious and they're slow to warm up and they're not going to just jump right in and try something. Some children have high degrees of persistence. And the word most people use for that is stubborn. I prefer persistence, which is the word the researchers use, because it's actually a good trait. This is a person, if you have a high degree of persistence, you're not going to quit. You're going to like tackle that problem until it's solved. You're going to, not give up very easily with what you're trying to do as a grown up or as an older child or teenager. When you're a preschooler and you don't really understand things as well in terms of like the impact on everybody else, if you're highly persistent, that's troublesome to a teacher and the class and the parents. And so they need help in impulse control, in how to be patient, how to wait for things. Temper tantrums are longer with children that are persistent because they persist longer in their tantrum. Another trait, distractibility. If some of you with infants, my firstborn was very distractible and I was nursing him and I pretty much had to be like in a dark room to get him to just take the feeding because he was so easily distractible, just pulling up and wanting to see what's going on. What's that noise? Where's the cat? So trying to teach something, coach a child that just stepped out of line and needs some limit set. There are ways we can help them pay attention and not be distracted from what your message is. Some kids are very sensitive to their surroundings. And in my career, working with a lot of biting kids, sometimes I'll go and I'll do an observation. And in the past, I remember a couple of settings where the child was doing a lot of biting, and go into the classroom and it's devoid of anything calming. The little kid music is turned up full volume. The walls are completely covered with bright decorations, and there's like no negative space to rest your eyes. The overhead lights were just like blaring. No, nothing soft, no carpet, no pillows, no couch, just washable, you know, uh, things on the floor and the to sit on. It was very stark, and I knew that that was a part of why he was reacting the way he was, because he had no place to rest, to pause, to like um, handle his sensitivity. So those are some things that have to come into your mind when you're thinking about, I've got a child that's having trouble with these directions, with you know, with you know, getting along with the plan and other kids. How do I intervene? So this is one reason you need to keep this in the back of your mind, because some of your intervention will have to do with this. Let's talk about compliance issues. Down at the bottom, Susan. Compliance issues right there. Yeah, stop. Okay. At the top of the screen here, you'll see compliance issues. I just want to say a couple of things about this. I'm sure that when you're asking a child, you're prompting them that it's almost cleanup time, or it's almost time to get shoes on, or it's almost time to get onto cots, or, like that. You give forewarning. You give a 5-minute warning, or sometimes a 10-minute warning. I would say that's important, and especially for kids that are non-adaptable, give them an extra one. So you would want to walk over to them, get down at eye level, and say, "Hey, Tony, just want to make sure you heard, in about 3 minutes now, we'll be putting the blocks away." So just to give them a little special individual forewarning. Choices. You do this, I'm sure. Give the child 2 clear, actual choices. That's a very common teacher thing. Do you want to pick up the red ones or the blue ones? Do you want to sit over here or over here? Do you want to hold my left hand or my right hand? Here we go. We're walking to the park. You give people choices. I would just think to yourself, how are you doing that? Listen to your tone. Be what I call firm but warm in your tone, because you are in charge. You're not giving them a million choices, and it's not an open-ended choice like, how do you want to do this? You're still in charge, but you're sharing the control. What often happens, I find, and I'm guilty of it too, is that when we give a choice, like, where do you want to sit, Jonathan? Over here or on the other side? You're trying to get them to the table. We don't pause. We don't pause long enough to allow the child to adjust to what you just said. And we tend to just want to like rush them, as if like, I just said it, makes perfect sense. It's a simple sentence. What's your answer? And you have to remember that these are little guys, and they're essentially still new to the planet. And they are not going to process what you're saying and turn it into action as quickly as you might hope. And if we continue to say it over and over again, it's like we're interrupting the cycle. And so my advice is pause, be patient, and maybe just end with, what's your choice? So that it's very confined and it's not too wordy. The other thing that we tend to do without even knowing we're doing it, and I think this is universal, because I teach a lot of au pairs who are here before they go to their host families. And I know for a fact that they agree with me on, yep, we do it too. I say, try not to add okay to the end of your sentence, Because when you're talking to a preschooler, you're talking to a child who thinks in concrete terms and they take what you say literally. They are not really good yet. And until they're about 4.5 or 5, they're not really that good at abstract thinking. They hear you say, get your shoes on now, okay? And they hear that as an absolute option. Like, is it okay with me? No, don't feel like it. And so then they don't, because they think they've been given an option and you don't sound serious. You're not going to make them do it because you've just added okay, as if like, maybe it's okay with me too if you don't. So be aware of that. Listen to each other and try as hard as you can to just really delete that from your lexicon, from your communication style working with a child. It's easy to do once you kind of get it and you can just let it land. You can just say, climb on up to the table. Here's your chair. Let's see, what's for lunch? Me, say it, let it land. Don't and say an okay anywhere in that sentence. The more you say it, let it land, pause, maybe remind again. It gives them the impression that, she's the one in charge. I'm not. And the message all day long is, I'm in charge of some things. You have choices about some things. But it's, again, these are little guys. They've just landed from Mars and they've only been here a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's taking them time to develop impulse control and regulation of their wants and desires and, all of that stuff, and how to handle stressors. So let's talk about that too. On the next page, I put this down as, let me see the top, Susan. There, no, the top of the second page. Yep, right there. Limit your phrases. Talk in a matter-of-fact way and get down to eye level. So my tip here is all of those things. Limit your phrases means don't over talk when reasoning with or even questioning a child. We want to talk in, like, slow it down by about 50%. And I think you're going to find a real difference in who's listening to you, who's minding what you're saying, who's absorbing it. We talk in a matter-of-fact way, and I know it hurts the knees sometimes, but try to get down to eye level, whether it's just on your haunches or sitting in a chair. If you have a child who's a bit obstinate or problematic in any way, and you know it's hard for them to like follow direction, it's hard for you to get their attention, be very conscious of the circle of, that works, the distance that works for being within range of them paying attention to you. It's a pretty small range. And it's not from across the room, it's like from across the table. So these things help a child to stay engaged and not get defensive. Less is more. And again, like I said before, the listener needs time to absorb the message and react. They need time to absorb what you're saying, to kind of say to themselves, I don't feel like that, and I don't want to do that, and do a little bit of self-talk. And they either react in a negative way or a positive way. You can handle either one, but they're not going to react instantly. The other thing, it's so easy for teachers to do, and parents, just adults in general, is this quiz show kind of style. Like if a child steps out of line, they do something that you wish they hadn't done, and maybe it's minor, maybe it's major. Let's just say it's like one of the minor things. Or it's like somebody pushes somebody, nobody's really hurt, but there is a little squabble and people are upset. And a teacher steps in and says things like, why did you do that? What should you have done? How do you think she feels? How would you like it if somebody did that to you? Those are all not very helpful, honestly, because the child feels uncomfortable, blamed for sure, embarrassed because there are people around listening to this, avoidant, meaning I'm not going to give you eye contact for sure, and defensive. And defensive means I'm putting up, that doesn't feel good. I have to protect myself. I'm being attacked somehow, even though, you're not trying to attack them, you're trying to teach them. But if it's a question and you're asking for them to respond with the correct answer, it's like they're being tested. And we all know how it feels to be tested. We hate it, right? So better that we use iMessages, active listening, speak about what you see. We'll talk about that. And the other thing is, my next point here, don't worry if a child looks away when you're talking about what he did wrong. Don't worry about that. It's not important. People listen with their ears. They do not listen with their eyes. And I don't know if you can remember yourself ever being in trouble for something, but if somebody forces you to look up and look in their eyes while you're being told what you did wrong and you're being blamed, and boy, are you in trouble, that's very hard to hold that gaze. And so when children look down, sometimes they'll even laugh. It's a nervous laughter. Not that they're being disrespectful, it's because they can't maintain that gaze. And it's okay. Don't worry about it. Another point in terms of like, what do you say in these phrases? What do I'm talking about how to talk. Now let's talk about what to say. Ask yourself, what would I have wanted him to do in that moment of stress? I talk about this as a gap. Like, here's a gap. See this hole right here? That's a gap. Identify the gap in his skill set. And then you're going to need to fill the gap. And that's what I call coaching. Coaching is needed. If you say to a child, like, why did you do that? How would you like it if somebody did that to you? And even if the child is 4 years old and they say, I wouldn't like it. Okay, good answer. But that doesn't mean now he knows what to do differently, because in 20 minutes, somebody else might push his button and make him upset about some silly little thing. And he's going to act out in a way that's going to get himself in trouble. So you rewind what happened in your head and you say to yourself, what would I rather he have done? Instead of push somebody down, for example, say it's a 2-year-old, push somebody down. I want Sylvia next time to say, move back, too close, move back. Okay, that's a good coaching phrase, because now you've given her a tool. You've given her a tool. Like, oh, I feel like pushing, but I remember the teacher said, move, and I can say it in a loud voice. I can say, move, in a mean voice even, because I need her to move. I feel like hurting her. So children need permission of what to do instead. I call that the alternative. And I also want to say another analogy is, think of yourself. You're the teacher in the room. You are the, stage manager. You set the stage the way, with invitations and with interesting things to do. You're also the director of this production. And when some actor in your midst is doing something wrong, they're off book, they're not, understanding, you step in and you help them with their role. Well, this child has the role of being a classroom, student, a friend in the class, one of the people in your classroom community, and they're struggling with what to do when they're under stress in the moment. and you're not going to say to a child, oh, see that pillow over there? When you feel like this, go beat on that pillow. No, you're not, because they need something to do right now in the moment, even if a teacher is 20 feet away. And so you teach them the word, the action, even if it's like hold your hands tight. That's coaching. I can't. It's my job to keep people safe. If your hands feel like hitting someone, squeeze them real tight and call me. I'll help. I'll help you figure it out. That's what I mean by coaching. Um, let's talk about when somebody is getting hurt, actually really hurt. Let me take a drink. You're going to step in with an iMessage. If there's nothing else you take away from me today, I really feel strongly about this because it helps us to not fly off the handle. Because when somebody in our group, someone that we're supposed to, protect, is in danger, is being hurt, or something is about to go wrong, we, fly into action and try to step in with, I see hitting, that's a problem. I see biting, that's not okay. What do you see? Describe what you see. Use yourself as the person who is now in control. Because what you're saying is basically things are out of control here. I'm in control. I'm here to help. What's going on? So you stop the hurtful action. I also strongly believe that with kids, as young as toddlers, if you say, I won't let you, let's just say bite for a minute, you take the person who's doing the biting and you move him, actually physically swoop him over here, plop him down a few feet away. And the motion you're following through on your statement, I won't let you bite. Whoop, there you go. No more, he's not biting. Uh-oh, I think I just lost my ears. Let me see.
You're good. We can hear you.
I just got a funny sound on my.
I can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That was nerve-wracking. Maybe my thing just charged or something and it was telling me that. Okay. So you follow up with an action to demonstrate, I'm not going to let that continue. And then you stay right there. He's a safe distance from the scene of the problem. Someone is taking care of the victim of this action, and you position yourself between him and the room's activity. Meaning, it's how you position yourself. If here he is, here's the room's activity behind me. I want to give him a little privacy while he's having a tantrum and fussing and complaining. And I want him then, in a couple of minutes, when he calms down, to know that I'm right here and I'm ready to help sort this out. So position yourself strategically. Then after a few minutes, as the protesting slows down, you want to gain his attention through what I call a starter phrase. You don't need to put it up, Susan, but there's some handouts. One of them is called how to help a young child gain focus and understand their emotions. Oh, there it is. Starter phrases are things like, Christopher, listen. That's a starter phrase. Or, and you have already probably started with, like, I know you were upset. I can see how mad you were about her grabbing that from you. Let's talk about that. Here's a thought. I wonder if, I see what the problem is. So rather than jump in with, you should not have done that. That hurts people and blah, 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 blah. Go in a little more gently so that the acceptance of what you're about to say in your coaching is going to be accepted more easily. I'm just saying ease into your advice giving part of this short conversation.
Because sometimes they'll shut down and then they're not listening.
Yeah,
And then turns into a power struggle rather than a way to help change the child's behavior.
exactly right. And then the middle part here, active listening and feeling phrases. Jump down for a minute, you can see difficult feeling words. I am a big fan of using, I would say, more interesting words than happy, mad, sad. Because I want this child to understand, I get it. You were frustrated, or you were worried she was going to grab that from you, or you were irritated she was standing too close to you. Or when he knocked those blocks over, I know you were disappointed. You spent a lot of time building those blocks. Or another one, annoyed. Kids, if you teach kids what annoyed means, they're going to use that word if they're 2 years old, 3 years old. And they'll use it with each other. Like, don't annoy me. I'm so annoyed with you. Move back. Leave me alone. That's how they'll start to use it properly. And the whole point is to keep them from physically, impulsively hurting each other. They don't have a lot of regulation skills. Why? Because partly they don't have anything in place to do in place of acting with their hands. So the active listening, it's, you fill these gaps, like it sounds like you feel blank because, or it looks like you feel blank because. Sometimes you don't even know how they're feeling. You didn't even see what happened. Maybe these are two toddlers and it happened so quick. You don't know. You just know somebody just got beat up and somebody did the beating, and you don't know the reason behind it. And honestly, it often doesn't matter why someone was upset. The class rule still holds. We touch people gently. We touch people gently, even when we are upset. So I like the word upset because it's kind of a good, useful phrase when you don't really know what was going on there. So you use an iMessage, you use active listening, and can you go back to the,
Lisa,
there, yeah, thanks.
questions for the end?
Yeah, I'm almost done. Give me 5 minutes and then we'll take questions. So when you've had a moment to coach him and like, I understand how you feel, I got it. Here's next time this happens, do this instead. You're going to leave him with an alternative. You're going to fill the gap. Next time she's too close to you, just say, move back. That'll be great. That's a good solution. That'll work fine. Let's go see how she's feeling. Sometimes, depending on the age, you can get the kids back together. You can have a little conversation about what happened. If not, it doesn't matter. It's mostly important that you coach the person who acted out, because he's the one that needs understanding of what he feels and what he should do next time when he feels that way. You obviously, the victim needs compassion, but I would never ask the hurtful child to apologize to the child that they just hurt. Why? Because it's inauthentic and it does not work as a deterrent. They don't have empathy, especially before the age of 4. They don't have empathy. They're not going to behave in a certain way just to be nice to someone else because I'm worried about somebody's feelings. That's a grown-up thing called empathy. They'll have some sympathy, they'll have some compassion. Empathy comes along, as you're an older 4-year-old, 5-year-old. So better to say, are you all done scratching people, Seth? Jennifer wants to make sure you're all done scratching now. And maybe Seth will nod. Maybe Seth will be silent. Maybe Seth will say, uh-huh. It doesn't matter. what Seth says, because then you're going to speak on his behalf and you're going to say, I think Seth is all done scratching now, Jennifer. That's great. Let's go find something else to do, because you need to put closure on it in a very optimistic, positive, forward thinking way, so that Seth sees himself as the person who's turning over a new leaf now and has learned something new. He's all done scratching. Next time he's upset, he's going to say, don't. Fantastic. Let's go find some Play-Doh. It's sort of subtle, but it's a way of keeping everybody engaged and non-defensive and dropping in things to fill the gap of what they're missing. Let's talk for a minute about tantrums. We want you to define what you see, identify the feeling. Of course, I know you want a cookie. It's too close. I've done this at somebody's house a while ago. What was her name? Jasmine. Jasmine was having a temper tantrum. Her mom wouldn't give her a cookie. I was there doing a home visit. She had a meltdown on the floor. The mom looked at me like, I don't know what to do. I said, do you want me to step in? She said, yes. So I went over to Jasmine and I said, like, I can see how much you wanted that cookie. You're feeling really upset right now. You're feeling mad. You wish you had a cookie. I get it. Listen, and I would take a deep breath. When you're ready, I have an idea. I'll be right here. When you're ready to talk, come on over. I have an idea for you. And you keep your comments brief, professional, iMessages, I see how you feel. I understand it. I have an idea for you. I'll be right here. Just be yourself. Don't give any advice. Don't start, telling them what they should be or shouldn't be doing, because they're in their emotional head. They're not in their reasoning part of their brain yet. You can't rush that, but you can help them regulate by just standing nearby, taking deep breaths yourself, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just be a good model of how to do that. And then, you can use some starter phrases to help them create an incentive to calm down and listen. Right? Here's a thought. Are you ready to talk? Here's a thought. Maybe this idea would work. Jasmine, can I tell you my idea now? I'm ready to talk. Are you ready? You can just, there's an incentive for them to like pull it together. And then you say, like, I said to her in this time, I wonder if your mother has any raisins. She might think raisins is a good snack for now. It's not like a cookie, but raisins are fun. Shall we find out? Let's go ask her. And we used confident momentum to help that child see a path out of their predicament. So confident momentum is a phrase that you should be thinking about. You should try to use it. You are drawing the path for them to follow you out of their misery, out of their big tantrum they're having. So let me stop now. That's a lot. I just gave you a big monologue. But let's put the papers down and let me take questions from the group.
There is one question in the chat from Jillian.
Uh-huh.
We have a few students who want to play help their friends, but this tends to upset or bother the children who are being helped. Then a small squabble may or may not break out. We love having such caring students, but want to make sure our friends understand personal space. How do we communicate this to a toddler?
Can I get more information of what do you mean? What are they trying to help with?
Like they're trying to maybe do it for them. Jillian, if you want to weigh in on this.
Like help with a puzzle or something, or what? Like help get clothes on, or help with a puzzle, or help in what way?
What? I think she's downstairs.
Oh,
Okay, she's probably
Not
napping.
in-
Trying to help put another child's work away, putting on clothes, feed the students. So, like someone's just getting in someone's space. And toddlers like to do it themselves, right? So
Yeah.
getting in their
I've
business.
totally, totally. I've seen this a lot. So I know what you're talking about. They're just like, I'm like the little mini teacher's assistant here. I know exactly how to do this. Here, let me dress you up like you're a doll. Let me, let me get that for you. I'm sure you do interrupt and say things like, she's okay. She's trying to do it herself, right? I mean, tell me a little bit more about what transpires now, usually.
At the moment, we try to redirect her, and for the students that are over helpful, we try to redirect them to something they can be working on, maybe helping us clean something in a different area, or something along those lines. Or if it's something that we don't want her doing altogether, like um, feeding the children, for example, we'll say, "Oh, that no, thank you. The student can do it themselves," or we'll say, "That's teacher's work," or something along those lines.
Okay, got it. The thing I would add to what you're trying is active listening and iMessage and say, I see you trying to help your friend do XYZ. I know that sounds fun to you and you think it's a good idea. It's not, she doesn't think it's a good idea and she wants to do it for her own body. And the other thing I would say is don't use the phrase no thank you, because that's an oxymoron for children. No means don't do something. Thank you means do it. So when you put those together, no thank you is sarcastic and it's confusing and I think it delays the message that you're trying to teach because it confuses the issue. Um, Sometimes people say no thank you because they're trying to like step into setting a limit in a very gentle way.
And I
And
think
what
that's the way
you
the teachers normally use it. Like they're trying to intervene in a gentle way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that works against you because it makes your limit setting muddy, fuzzy. Like, do you mean it or don't you mean it? So I would just say, I see how much you want to help Emily with her coat. I can tell by looking at her face that she doesn't like that. Um, so it's time to try something else now. Do you see what I'm saying? It's time to you take charge of what she's going to be doing next. I can tell by looking at her face that she doesn't want any help, and that's fine. So it's time for you to try something else. Now you redirect her. But if you don't teach her to, like, number one, take a look at the person's face you're trying to do something to, read the room. That's a good tip that you can give the child that's trying to do this. She's doing it because it's fun for her to do it. She's getting satisfaction out of like doing stuff to people. Maybe before you redirect her, because otherwise she's not learning why you're redirecting her, say like, I can tell by her face, she's not interested in help right now. So let's stop what we're doing. You need to stop, not let's, I'm not doing it. Time for you to stop what you're doing and find another idea. What's your next idea? This is a phrase I like, you guys. Everybody has more than one idea in their head. So this little kid, this little toddler, let's say, I'm intent on doing this. And you say, I'm gonna stop you because I can tell so-and-so doesn't like it. What's your next idea? What else can be fun for you to do right now? Look around the room. That is flexible thinking. So now you're teaching flexible thinking. And it's not like you're just putting the kibosh on and saying no and trying to soften up by saying no, thank you. You're teaching her, you're coaching her why that's not appropriate.
That was really helpful. Thank you. I especially like the phrasing look at their face because she is very interested in the reaction. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I like I like that a lot. And she's got so many ideas. She's plenty of activities to do in the classroom. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah. Okay, good. And you can do another word that I like for these guys is let's say her name is Emily. Emily, pause. Pause. Look at her face. Does she look happy about this? No, she doesn't. Because everybody knows pause because of the button society that we live in. So just throwing that out too. What's another question?
There's a question from the, go ahead, Aubrey.
2 points. One, the no thank you, the way we use it at our school, it's teaching them kindness. So when we say no, thank you, no, and they use it with each other and it just teaches them kindness. That's how we use that. I have a question about not quizzing the child who made a mistake. Is that referring to when a child is like a child just hurt another kid? Or is it more of like, oh, I just spilled my food, or like I didn't write the 5 correctly? Like, which types of mistake is that applying to?
All of them.
Okay, then I disagree with that because these are the questions. So usually so say we're at the playground and I just looked over, another kid, a 3 or 4-year-old just pushed another kid to the ground. So I go over, I check on the kid who's hurt. I say, stop, let's step over here and let's talk about what happened. And usually the why did you do that is an important question, because usually the 3 or 4-year-old will be like, because they took the stick from me and I wanted it back. I'm like, okay, so let's talk about what to do in that situation so that next time you're not pushing the friend. We're going to use our words. We're going to ask for the stick back. If they're not listening, we can ask a teacher and teacher can help you talk through that. And usually that's the thing we do, because then like it takes a couple tries, but these kinds of questions do help us to teach them. And then the next time you see it, that kid's not using their words now. They're asking if they're coming to us for help. And then I know empathy doesn't really set in until age 4, but how do you think that would make her feel? How would you feel that also kind of builds the empathy? So I don't always do that, but sometimes we'll do that to help build empathy as it sets in the child. Because I can see how this would be true for like an older child or a child who's like built up that emotional kind of intelligence already. But for like the 3 or 4-year-olds, these questions are like, we talk about it and those are so helpful for us.
So slight difference though is what I find is that if you say to a child, why did you do that? You are inferring that there are good reasons to do it. Like, the jury's out, why did you do it? And really what you want to know is, what happened here? What happened here? I wouldn't give them the impression that there's any time that it's allowable or a good idea to hurt someone when you're upset. That just simply isn't true. It doesn't matter how angry somebody makes you. It's not okay to hurt them in return. But what you're trying to find out is, what was the situation here? So if you back up, instead of saying, why did you do it? You say, tell me about what happened. That's better, because it doesn't give them the impression that if I have a good enough excuse, she'll see my reason. Because there's never a reason for hurting someone. It doesn't even matter if somebody hurt you. You want them to go get help, handle it a different way, not just get into a big fist fight. That's the difference about why did you do it. That's why I don't like that as a leading question. Maybe in the conversation, like, what was going on here? What was happening? And then you say, well, but why did you push instead of ask her to move back, or something like that? That's more specific. The other thing you were saying, let's see, about the empathy. The best way to teach empathy is to model it, and to say, not how do you think she was feeling, to model it yourself and say, I can tell that when she was hurt, she was feeling this way. It's hard to feel that way. And you can even talk to the victim and say, Cynthia, are you okay? How are you feeling? So that you're modeling compassion, you're modeling empathy. For a preschooler, I think that's an easier way to get the message into them, because they're not sort of on the witness stand while it's being discussed. That's my point. And also it's a quick and easy, like kids are quick at answering what you want to hear. How do you think she felt? Bad. How do you think that, would you like that to happen to you? No. It's just, we don't want short little pat answers. We want to have a conversation about what's the alternative. Next time this happens, what can you do? And that's always part of the conversation because it's going to happen again. It might happen today. I understand. We talked about it. Like, when this happens again, what's your idea? Okay, next question.
Park West has a biting question.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yes, we have one child who has biting issue, and
I can't hear you, so I'm guessing Lisa can't hear you either. Can you go closer to the microphone?
we have one child in my classroom who has biting issues, and actually incident happened 5 times in the beginning because victim child he couldn't express himself properly, so we didn't know. But then the other 4 cases, 3 children who just bitten told us what happened, and the other one also bilingual child, so he could not express what happened. But then we saw the bitten, mark on his skin, so we know it was biting. And then the girl who has biting issue, whenever incident happened, she refused what she did. So we asked, did you bite just now? And then she refused. But then the other child claimed that what happened, and that's what it is. And then we always separate. We explain that's not okay. And then, but with my observation, I could see she felt some guilty on it because I can see from her facial expressions. And her parents just give us like a prompt, like if things happen like that, tell their child, if you do so, then there will be no ice cream at home. But I never use that prompt home because at the school, because I don't think that is a nice way or any educational way it could be. So I didn't use that.
Yeah.
But the parents need to use that prompt. But right now I'm just trying to explain. And then, but usually biting in the beginning was just one cry, and then just a little bit of redness on the skin. But then the last incident, there was a skin broken, and then blood, a little bit of blood came. So severe now, so I need some kind of guidance and also strategy on that.
Yeah. And remind me, is it the 2-year-old or a toddler?
She's 3 and 4 months, and I think she's one of the most mature one. But then what I figure out is because she's very mature and her executive functional skills and then cognitive skills and also verbal language is very strong. So if I just give her the right prompt, she's right there. But only biting issue, what I observe is 5 children, all those victim children is kind of physical. So whenever the conflict coming on, that the victim child always use kind of a physical kind of force to get something they wanted. But then this girl, although she's very mature, she's a little small, and then compared to the force was, she's a little small and she's a little fragile than others. So I think maybe her struggles there. And then they just took in mind, and then I can do it because they're still stronger. And then maybe it's just fighting happened. That is what but then that is what it is.
And you said she's 3?
She was born in May 22, so it's now
3.5.
yes, 3.5. Yes.
Yeah, that biting is unusual for 3.5-year-olds. And you're right about telling the parent about not, I mean, I don't know. A lot of parents think that if they have some sort of a punishment at home, then that will lead to children thinking twice before they're going to bite somebody at school. And that just never works. I mean, you can't relitigate what goes on at school, at home, 6 hours later. So the missing piece might be just knowing what happened right before the bite, so that your coaching involves telling that little girl biting is not going to work, that it's not allowed. I understand how hard it was for you to feel so upset and mad. Here's what you do instead. And you give her one idea at a time. And the next time, another idea. If you know, you just have to like work on, next time this happens, hold your, you know, I would specifically tell you exactly what to say based on the situation. But in general, iMessage, active listening, alternatives are how you solve biting. There's a book at your school called The Biting Solution that I wrote. So that would be a good start for you. And honestly, I think you even have a copy that's a loaner for parents too, and they should read it. So there are other things that cause biting besides the thing in the moment. And it may be, and for one of the things you said is she's very small. She's very small. There was a little girl named Jasmine in my practice, and she was like 23 months old in a 2-year-old room. And she was the smallest 23-month-old I've ever seen. She was like a little, you know, just a little tiny mouse almost. And she would bite 5 times a day. And she would try to use her words. The teacher said, like, you know, I can't let you bite. You know, if someone's trying to grab something from you, just tell her mine. It's mine. And this little girl, Jasmine, even her voice was tiny, and she would say, "It's mine, it's mine." And nobody would pay attention to her. Nobody would listen to her. They would just ramrod, you know, roll over her and take whatever they wanted and push her out of the way. And so they were as much as fault as the child doing the biting, because they were provoking, they were grabbing, they were also needing limits set on them. So don't always look at who the biting person needing the coaching. It's frequently the victim that needs the coaching too, because they put themselves in harm's way. And they all need social emotional coaching on what to do in a stressful moment. In the heat of the moment, what do you do? That's the lesson. That's what you have to do, is like identify, what do I need to teach? Why aren't they doing something else? What is it I want them to do instead? How am I teaching that?
So you believe, like, you know, because I tried to talk to her, and then it was very hard to keep the conversation because the girl, usually she doesn't want to talk, and you know, she just stopped talking and then so muted. So I just say hello, and you know, it's not helping. I know you're upset because somebody took yours, but we are using our words. But I will keep going on, and so it is okay. Even if she doesn't talk, we still give her message, and then you know, coaching her like that way, and at the same
Yeah.
time, one who has conflict with her, we have to coaching at the same time, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if she's responding to you. It matters what you're saying to her, and let her look down. Don't ask her a lot of questions. Tell her, here's what I saw. Here's how I think you feel. That idea didn't work. Here's a better idea next time. You're giving her strategies. And, you know, she won't get it the first time, but she will learn to not be so defensive if she's not being asked a lot of questions. And she's, you know, you have to be consistent. Everybody has to have the consistent message with her, or else she'll do it differently depending on which teacher she's around.
So do you think when I coaching both children, do you think is it necessary for the, you know, the one who has biting issue child see that the other child also has some kind of coaching from me? Like, you know, you took Riley's toys away, and you should ask before you took it from her, kind of coaching should the one biting issue child see that one, or better?
Yes. Because if you don't let them know that, like, I understand your point of view too, and I'm going to talk to the other child. Let's talk about this together. If they're old enough, if they're 3, you can have them come together and have this little, 90-second coaching conversation with the 2 of them. I saw what happened with you. I saw what happened with you. You're feeling like this. You're feeling like this. Next time you need that. I mean, you could have solved this at the grabbing stage, right? With talking to the grabber about, like, if you need a turn with that, come find me and we'll find out when she's going to be done with it, and let her know you want the next turn. And you, when you're done with it, bring it over to her. She's waiting for the next turn. Okay. And then what can you do while you're waiting? It's sort of like there's a linear way of coaching them through not doing this as their instinct. Yeah, I think you're on the right track, though.
Caroline,
Another question?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Okay.
Hi.
I'm wondering what to do. We have a child in an early childhood classroom, and he's the youngest, still like 2 years, 10 months at this point. The verbal development is not developed, both the words and also just the understanding of the speech. So it's often hard to tell why he is hitting, why he is something. So part that's like, I understand that you are upset. I know that you want this. Next time, let's do this. It's the stumbling block is it's not always clear. I think some of it with his level of gross motor development is like he may be trying to like get attention, to say hi, to hug, to bop.
Right. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. So you don't know, there's not a real alternative to the specific reason he's doing this, because it's not apparent. And so right?
Yeah. And I tried, like, if you want, attention, let's wait, give me something else like physical to do or say a name, but it's a lot of trouble coming up with that. So it's just.
Yeah. So some of that is guesswork on your part. And some of it might just be, like you're saying, kind of a default default reason perhaps might be attention getting. And so then you step in and you would just say, like, hold on, I see blankety blank, that's a problem, I won't let you do that, and you move him away from the scene of the action there, and you say, let's figure this out. Let me help you sort this out. And you might not know what's going on. He's just like, whatever, like somehow you're feeling like hitting, and I can't let you hit. It's my job to keep people safe. If you feel like that, here's some ideas. And you just move right into like other physical ideas, like squeezing your hand or saying, if he's excited, just hey, or high five, or what's something else he can do that's like, I'm excited to be around people, and give him something physical to do or say as an expression of excitement in that case. And so you have kind of at your fingertips, all right, if it's excitement, I'm going to remind him about this. If it's, he's frustrated, I'm going to remind him about doing this with his feeling. If he doesn't have a lot of words, try giving him a 1-word sentence. Like, hey is a 1-word sentence, or wow, or stop, right?
Yeah, I have.
And I've had toddlers who couldn't say even a word, and you just teach them like, like a little guttural, like, clench your teeth and like just like make a sound like we do when we're like, kind of thing. That can be helpful, just to have a noise that he grabs onto, is like, or here's one that a lot of toddlers love, and 2-year-olds, is breathing in and out through your teeth when you're feeling like something.
He does that naturally sometimes.
Well, good. You can encourage him to do that when he's feeling a lot of emotion.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think he processes that he is feeling emotion.
Well, you can, he won't at first. You can just, but you say it. You can like, I can tell you've got a lot of feelings right now. Let's do this together.
Okay.
You know, maybe you can even pre-teach it, you know, have like a little kind of a meeting. You know, here's an idea, you know, maybe you use puppets to teach this. Maybe you have a small group session where you teach like, what do you do with big feelings? What are some sounds we can make? What can we do with our hands? And you know, at a 2-year-old level, you have a little session about that. Nobody's in trouble for anything. So everybody's paying attention more easily.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. I think we're at the end of our time now.
Okay.
Taking the extra time for the questions. Thanks
Everybody
everyone for joining.
headed home. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.